What it's like to be in a coma.
So I was in a coma. Great conversation starter, I know. It's a complicated story. I had a surgery and it went bad and I got an infection and it attacked my lungs, and so then induced coma. So it was something called a medically induced coma. So I didn't just pass out. They actually gave me drugs and continuously gave me drugs for a good 2 weeks or so that I could be in this sleep state and they could try and heal me and get me to live.
It always confused me when people had to be in medically induced comas. Like, does pumping that many drugs into your body that forces it into kind of an unnatural constant state of sleep, like how does that not harm you? Now, obviously it works because they do it all the time and people always come out having been healed. But it's so weird to me that like we pump you full of chemicals for 2 weeks straight. And then when you come out, there's just like, you're chill. There's no side effects.
So many dreams, so many stories. So here you go. This is what it's like being in a coma. First things first, everything that happens in the real world, you hear, you're aware of, you kind of know what's going on, but it goes through this weird like filter thing in your brain, and by filter...
I'd always assumed that it was fake, that people in a coma can hear everything you say. It was just something to encourage family members to be more positive, you know, that way they don't yell at the doctors and stuff like that. There's that article forever ago, it was like man comes out of coma and remembers his mom saying that she wishes he was dead or something. Yeah, ghost boy Martin Pistorius, who suffered a mysterious virtual coma for 12 years, describes hearing his mother tell him, "I hope you die." Family opens up over extraordinary locked-in syndrome story. I mean, that's just crazy. Imagine saying that or being the person that heard that. You wake up and like your relationship is changed forever. So it's fascinating that that is actually true.
I mean, it's going through the drugs. And then it turns into something else once it like actually hits your consciousness. So example, a lot of people would come to visit and sit by my bed and talk to me. I heard my stepmom and my own nanny talking and all of that, and I heard what they were saying, but then in my head, we were in like a girls' camp, like one of those like log cabin camps, and they were gossiping about one of the other girls. Really, they were just talking about like one of the nurses and something she had said, but like in my head they were like gossiping, and I was like in on it too. I was talking back to them, but I wasn't actually talking. And sometimes this messes me up so much when I'm going and looking back like on the whole experience. I remember so clearly saying something back to them and being like, "Oh yeah, that Peggy." I didn't say anything. So it was like all a weird conversation in my head with everyone.
What do you think impacts what situation the people in comas find themselves in? If I was in a coma, would I be back in high school basketball or somewhere that I enjoyed in college? I'd be fascinated to know how your brain picks the specific scenario that the coma talk takes place in. I also wonder if she could actually remember everything they said, or does she just know that people were talking, but she doesn't remember the specific words that they were saying? It's like when someone's talking to you and you're not really comprehending what they're saying, but you know that they're talking. You remember that someone was saying something, you just don't remember what specifically it was.
And I wasn't even talking. Another thing that would happen was like uncomfortable positions that they would put me in. My brain would make up a story for why I was in those positions. At one point, they had to actually tilt the bed in something called Trendelenburg, which is like literally tipping you upside down. So there I was like upside down and like swollen like a balloon at that point. And in my head, I
know this is entirely unrelated, potentially inappropriate. This looks kind of like the thing they do at haunted houses, or like where you go into the horror house and they strap you to the bed and flip you upside down and pretend you to cut you up with the chainsaw. I tried to find one on Google, but I can't find pictures anywhere. So maybe I just went to a really weird haunted house that had that and no other haunted houses use it.
It's like going in this weird like hammock thing. And then I remember I got like my foot caught in the hammock, and so I was like hanging upside down. And I was like, this is so weird. Why can't I move? Like I should just be able to pull myself up. But then logic doesn't really work very well.
It's fascinating that her brain felt the need to explain away everything that was happening. The conversations were her talking with her friends in a circle. The being flipped upside down was her being caught in a hammock and turned upside down. It's crazy how your brain chooses to make something out of nothing, even when there is nothing actually to be made there.
The best part though, and the thing that kind of inspired a whole trip after I got out of the coma, was all of my Alaska hallucinations. I've never been to Alaska. I've never like shown any interest in Alaska, but for some reason while I was asleep, I kept going to Alaska.
That is so trippy. She's not interested in Alaska, has never been to Alaska, has no positive associations with Alaska, and just her body decided that she was in Alaska. It is crazy the things your brain does. And I can't fathom a way in which we would ever figure out why these types of things happen, where her brain chose that specific scenario despite the fact that she has no connection to it.
In my head, and it was so beautiful. beautiful. It was like pine trees and coves, and I remember just like sitting there and just like staring at the most beautiful scenery ever for hours and hours, and there'd be like a little deer off in the corner, and it would be freezing cold, but I didn't care. Turns out I was getting ice packed the whole time. So I had a crazy high fever with a crazy high infection, and what they do for that is they put ice packs all around you. Like that's literally like the most advanced thing they can come up with.
Is there really not any better way to bring down a high fever other than just ice packing? I ask specifically because I know that the Romans did that back 2,000 years ago when the Roman Empire was all the rage. It's fascinating that we as a species have not really progressed past we just dump ice on it and body go burr.
Oh, being iced. I guess somewhere in my brain I thought like ice, Alaska, totally makes sense. One of the funny things too was the way that people's voices, like if I liked the person who was talking and I felt safe there, it would affect what was going on in my head. And I didn't notice this at the time, but like once I came out, I kind of like studied the whole experience. But every time it was my mom or my dad or people that I loved, it was someplace beautiful and it was comforting. And when it was people that I just kind of barely knew, it was always strange and I had no idea where I was and I felt kind of lost. And actually gets me thinking a lot about how that happens on a regular basis.
That is so trippy. When it was someone happy, her brain just created a happy association / hallucination. And it was someone sad, her brain creates like a sad or creepy scenario. It's so wild. It's interesting how, as complex as your brain is, it simplifies safe and not safe or happy and not happy to these simple things of like, oh, beautiful sunset and then a dark, creepy hallway.
We're not on crazy drugs. Like, how do the people that we're around and the experience that we're in influence our brain and our minds and how we see the world? Like, pretty much being in a coma is just like a very magnified and intense version of our own dreams. And so what can we learn from them and what can we learn about ourselves? And I learned so much from that experience. I mean, first of all, that I love Alaska, apparently. But second of all, I
hope they took her to Alaska. I feel like they have to have taken her to Alaska after this.
I love, like, it showed me who I care about and who makes me happy and how the world can be manipulated so easily and how our own minds can be manipulated and we can really believe so much. I don't know, talking about it kind of makes me happy in a weird way. You wouldn't think that, but yeah. So
she is very young. I think in this video, she's like in her mid-teens, but she is phenomenally well-spoken for someone that is the age that she is. I am not this well-spoken and I am in my late 20s. I enjoyed this video so much that afterwards I started looking around to see if I could learn more about who this was or what she had done. And her name was Claire Windland. And she was an American activist, author, speaker, and social media personality. And as you can imagine, she was very well-spoken. She also did some live events where she spoke to people specifically about death. She has a disease called cystic fibrosis, which means that her life expectancy was very, very low, but she provided support to families affected by cystic fibrosis. She died from a blood clot 1 week after receiving a double lung transplant at the age of 21, and that happened back in 2018. So she has not been with us for a while now, but I find her ability to tell stories and convey ideas in a way I was able to understand just really fascinating. So I hope her friends and family have found comfort in what was obviously a very difficult time. And if you want to donate to cystic fibrosis research, then I'll have some links in the description. Thanks for watching.